It's something that I really struggled with when I was younger because I just felt thick. I just felt really stupid. And then I got the diagnosis, and I remember when I got the diagnosis, I cried because I realised there actually isn't something wrong.
Well, Mia, babes.
Hello.
Welcome to Rain. How are we?
Good, excited. First podcast.
I literally can't believe that I'm the one to pop your podcast cherry, babe. This is so exciting.
It's very fun. Actually, do you know that I have me and one of my best mates, whenever one of us needs to go for a wee, we'll do a wee-orientated podcast for each other. We'll mute ourselves if we need a wee, and we will spew out randomness and welcome to this podcast today talking about cake icing.
Oh, what, to cover up the wee?
Well, just to entertain the other person if we happen to be on FaceTime together while they're having a wee.
Babe, I love that. Let's maybe turn that into a podcast.
Absolutely not.
No.
Because it's nonsensical and completely insane.
Which is basically what Rain's all about as well, so we can have a stunning time.
Okay, I'll be
We'll
fine
just pretend
then.
we're on the toilet just FaceTiming each other. This is how it's going to work.
Amazing.
But we do have some big things to cover. And that is just a small, independent, indie movie. That is being in Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme. I mean, it was like the biggest trip. Watching that movie is so good and you are so incredible in it. But I want to take it back to the beginning. Where were you at in life when this role found you?
I was on a train.
Stunning.
Bookended, actually. So train when I got the first email, and then train when I found out that I had the job. And then train when I found out I was going to Cannes. It's this trains are lucky, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I should just live on one. I'll live on a train. I don't know. I'm sure that Wes maybe owns a train. I'd have to ask him.
Yeah.
I was on a train and I got an email from my agent saying, you've got a self-tape to do. It's for Wes Anderson. And I had to put the phone down and sort of think, nope, that's the wrong person. This has gone to the wrong inbox. But it hadn't, apparently, and I double-checked. And the only character description was young girl.
Descriptive.
Yes, very. And so I knew really nothing, and the scene that had been attached at the bottom as the audition slides were not from the Phoenician Scheme script. They were from a different project. That's not an uncommon thing that I've experienced in an audition before. So I just sort of went home and I did it, and then agonising waiting of sort of, well, I mean, it's out in the universe now. I just sort of wait and just keep my fingers crossed, really, and wish on a star if I see one, which I genuinely did the entire time. And then, get another email saying, oh, they'd like to see you for a recall. And I went in, and then they gave me 8 pages of a portion of the original script, but 45 minutes before I went in for the meeting. So I didn't have that much time to kind of try and absorb as much information as I could about her, who she was, what she was doing, how she got to where she was, any of the story. All I had was young girl to go off of. And then suddenly I have 8 pages, and that felt so valuable. So I did that, and then reluctantly gave the pages back at the end. And they probably shredded them, I don't know. And then again, but that was a month later, and they said, Wes would like to meet you now. And big, deep breath. Okay, Wes Anderson would like to meet you for a recall audition. Shit. So that's what's kind of going through my head. And then go in, and Wes opens the door, and he goes, hello! And he's wearing pink socks, hotel slippers, stripy blue trousers, and glasses. And he's like, ha! And gives me a hug. And then we just chat about everything for an hour. And then I sort of really felt calm. His presence was incredibly calming, which I wasn't really expecting. During that time, I got another email saying, we'd love you to do a screen test with Benicio del Toro. And that was the first time that I heard that person's name. And okay,
another gold
I'm going to
moment.
I have to do acting with Benicio del Toro. Okay. Big deep breath again. And in between that time, I was allowed to read the script, which I didn't honestly think that I would be allowed to. And they sent it to me in a really tight time window encrypted file, and I just sponged it all in.
So you only had a specific amount of time to read it?
I had 5 hours. I had 5 hours with the whole script, and then they gave me, again, more pages, but for a set amount of time before I went in for my screen test with Benicio. And that was fun. And then that went over 2 days. Day one was just meeting and rehearsing, and he was so lovely. And he gave me a hug when he met me, and I thought, oh, you're just a very lovely purring cat. You're really nice, and you're not going to eat me. And that was really lovely. And then on day two, it was sort of try on of costume things. And we didn't have a nun's veil, which Wes was really trying to figure out how we could do that. And there was a lunch cart in the corner, and it had a napkin on it. And I said, does anybody have any hairpins? And I pinned this napkin to my head. And Wes came over and sort of tweaked it and went, okay, no one touch it. Okay, yep, let's do this thing. And so I auditioned with a dirty napkin on my head.
Oh, it was dirty?
It was already used because we had lunch. It was at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon that we were doing this. And then I left and was, been refreshing my emails all day and was on the train in the afternoon. And my agent called me and said, they would like to offer you the role. And my arms went freezing cold and everything started shaking. Wow. And I jumped out of the train carriage and shut myself in a bike locker and made her hang up the phone and go and call casting back because I fundamentally did not believe that she was telling me the truth. And then she called me back and said, yeah, they laughed me off the phone. I'm not, why would I lie about this? They're not lying. You got it, you did it. And I sat on the floor and had a really long cry. I don't think I stopped crying for about a week.
You've spoken a little bit before about being dyslexic. And so learning lines, is that quite a difficult thing to do if you have dyslexia?
It's interesting because when I was younger, the dyslexia was really, really prevalent in my reading and my writing to the point where I memorized my books when I was younger because I didn't know how to make the sounds properly that I was seeing on the page, or I'd flip round words or add words where they weren't there. And I remember once sort of, doing like a reading exercise thing. I must have been very young. And I said, I can't really read it. And the person who was with me said, what do you mean? I said, watch. And I put the book behind my back and I turned the pages, but I knew all the words to it. So the reading bit of it, reading things quickly and at sight, that's still kind of difficult. But then it got infinitely better over my teenage years, and now I don't have a problem with it. But math was the kicker, and I still don't have a foundation GCSE in math, and I did it 3 times, and it was hell on earth. And I cried every single time I would come out of a maths exam. I hated it beyond words. I hated it. It looked like ants moving across a page. It was like reading music. I just didn't understand it at all. The visual maths I was fine with because it was like geometry. It was shapes. It was drawing. I understood that. What's Pythagoras?
Babe, who needs to know?
What's Pythagoras and what's the circumference of an egg? I still don't know. Somebody tell me.
Pop that in the comments below.
Yeah. What's the circumference of an egg? I suppose it depends on the average egg.
Depends how big that hen is, I guess.
Yeah, or if it's got 2 yolks in it.
Yeah, and the egg could be like an ostrich egg. So we're really...
you're adding in problems.
We're adding in problems here. We're adding in more problems for our lack of GCSE maths in this room.
Don't ask me. Honestly, don't ask me. It's so stressful. Yeah. It's so stressful. If I'm adding something up, I'll have to recruit a friend to go, just read these out to me. Okay. Oh, I entered it in wrong. Okay, again. And I become really tetchy. And I don't like it.
I think it's interesting, though, because when you're younger, being dyslexic is almost seen as like a negative thing. But actually, there's so many great positive things that come from it, right?
I was watching an episode of, I think it was Educating Manchester or something. And there was a teacher who had dyslexia and there was a little boy who also had dyslexia. And he said, I just feel really thick. And the teacher was like, I've got dyslexia as well. But I kind of see it as like a superpower. And this was very recent. And this little boy was like, oh yeah, maybe it is like a superpower because I see things differently. And I had never heard it talked about in any other way, but actually it's just another way of seeing things. And I was really lucky because none of my teachers were ever like, that wasn't good enough. You need to do that. That wasn't good enough. They all knew that I was dyslexic, and they were all really, really supportive of that. And I had learning support for the entire time that I was at school. I had additional lessons to help me with my reading, my maths, my spelling, and the reading and the spelling got infinitely better. However, I do still use a rhyme to remember how to spell beautiful and because, or like a little anagram. Is that what it is? I'm not sure. Like I have words that are next to the letter that is in because, but it's, I don't know. It's something that I really struggled with when I was younger because I just felt thick. I just felt really stupid. And then I got the diagnosis, and I remember when I got the diagnosis, I cried because I realised there actually isn't something wrong, and it felt relieving. Like, oh, okay, okay, now we know what to do, and now we're going to focus on how to spell the words, and like the different there's there, and there. I remember sticking them on my bunk bed underneath and going, right, there, that's that there, and there, that's their people, and there, that's the other there, or they are. And I remember doing that. I still kind of have to concentrate on which one is which. I get them wrong. I can't be the only person that also gets them wrong.
But now look at you, babe, you're thriving. I think this is important, and it's important for people to see this, I think, because I think so many people grow up and they really struggle with being dyslexic, and it's great to see people, A, talking about it, and B, see people thriving in their chosen creative career or whatever they want to do.
It's not a slow down thing. I think it's just, I found the methods that really, really helped me, but that took a really, really long time to do. And the math thing is still very challenging, and I do need people to help me calculate tips at the end of dinner sometimes.
Well, babe, you are absolutely killing it. It's so amazing to see. And we always finish on one final question. That is, in the reign of your life, what is the one rule you'll always live by?
Commit or it's shit.
Ooh.
Commit or it's shit.
It's so good.
It feels apt, particularly if I'm climbing a mountain. Because it's like, okay, I'm halfway up, I can't really turn back, so I got to keep going. I get to the top, and then I got to go down the other side. Yeah. So it's like, it works. It works under like weird circumstances, really weird circumstances. Like if you're running for a train, you got to get that train, and then you catch the train, or like going for a flight or something, or painting something. Like trust the process. Commit or it's shit.
I love that. That's one of my favourite ones ever. I love that. Babe, honestly, you're so great, and thank you for talking to me today.
Thanks for doing my first podcast.
Oh my God, babe, I'm so excited to be your first podcast.